Conspiracies that you've never heard of, part 2. If you want to check out part 1, I will post a link right here. So I find conspiracy theories very insightful, because I will say, while not all of them are accurate, I think that the majority of them are based in truth, and I do believe in a lot of them, including the term conspiracy theorist. That was to deter people from asking questions, right? The term conspiracy theorist is a conspiracy in itself, because it was I believe it was the CIA that started to get that term out there, and that was to stop people from asking questions, okay? So it's supposed to be this like negative term, and you'll always see people getting on like, well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, because it's like this no-no word, but it's only a no-no word because it's people that are asking questions and diving down the rabbit holes and things like that. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and let's get into it. The first one I want to talk about is the Denver airport. I found a lot of interest in this one about a year ago because I was going to Denver, and so I was kind of like excited to go to the airport and see all the things that I was reading about, watching videos about, and things like that. But right off the bat, you've got a lot of weird artwork that has a lot of symbolism. You've got underground tunnels, and oftentimes you will find a lot of delays that aren't normal that come out of that specific airport. Regarding the underground tunnels, there are a few workers, whether it was those that were building or expanding the airport or those that work there, that have come out and said there are a lot of underground tunnels. Now, the theory is that a lot of these tunnels are underground bunkers for the elitists, the Illuminati, the 1%. A lot of those things overlap. If you're one of those things, you're not necessarily the others, but there are a lot of people out there that are. And the other part of that is that if you've gone down the reptilian path, it is said to be tunnels used for the reptilians. Now, reptilians are another species that can kind of morph into humans. So you'll see a lot of videos out there on the internet, especially of politicians and celebrities, where their face kind of morphs for a split second. And that's kind of like a big sign that they are a reptilian. If you want to learn more about in depth on the reptilians, I will post this video here so you can check that one out. Now, there are also a lot of murals, artwork, statues that are said to have a lot of symbolism in them. The most well-known one of those is the Lucifer statue, which I did get a chance to see. It's kind of hard to miss it. But what this is it's like a big blue like horse with really bright red eyes, and is very much tied to death, and it just feels really demonic when you actually go and see it. Now, this is, I mean, all of these really conspiracies, you can really go down the rabbit hole. So if you guys do want to learn like more in depth about them, let me know in the comments below, and I will do an entire video just on this or any of the other theories. But I'm just trying to give you like a brief overview of something that may pique your interest that you want to look a little further into. The next one I want to talk about I find very fascinating and a little creepy, because I love it so much, and that is the glitter conspiracy. As you guys know, I go to a lot of raves and festivals and things like that, and I love glitter, but there actually is potentially a very dark side to glitter, which sounds crazy, I know, but you go down those rabbit holes and you're like, what the? There's only a few glitter manufacturers in the world, and a few years ago there was a journalist who asked them who their biggest buyer was, and they wouldn't tell them. They cited that it was a secret and they couldn't give that information out, which is kind of where the whole glitter theory sparked interest, right? It's like, what do you mean? Like, why is it such a big deal who the biggest buyer of glitter is? So the theory is that glitter is used for much more than just rave accessories and arts and stuff like that, but that it can contain like certain microchips and those go within like weapons or drones and things like that. Some claim that there are trackers in there. Some say that there is, you know, some of the microchips can involve surveillance, where essentially they are tracking pedestrians through the glitter. So for instance, if there are like micro pieces of glitter, because it obviously is so tiny, and say like you're at a concert or a festival, not that this really happens at the ones I go to, but they do, where, you know, maybe smoke and glitter and whatever is like sprayed into the crowd, that it can mark the glitter or those people as a sensor grid where they can track them. So a lot of people think that the government is the biggest buyer of glitter, but we don't know still for a fact. All right, now I want to talk about the mind control frequencies. So if you ever heard of you know, subliminals or things like that, you might know what I'm talking about, where there are different frequencies that can affect us on different levels, whether it's our, you know, subconscious mind or whatever it may be. There's a lot of healing frequencies, but also there are ones that can be not so healing for us, and that can be controlling for us. There's a movie, I think it's from the 1980s. I actually watched it not too long ago. I think it's called They Live. And now this isn't really about sound in that movie, but if you do want to check out like a really cool movie about all of this kind of stuff, I would definitely recommend that. But it's basically saying that in a lot of public spaces, there is an underground like frequency sounding used that we can't even like consciously hear, that is taking over our subconscious mind, making us more controlled, right? And it can do all kinds of things. There are things that, you know, can make us lose our memory and make us tired, and basically anything that they can do to use these sounds to make us fall in line. So if you think of places like malls or sporting events or airports, train stations, that kind of thing, like somewhere where there's a lot of people gathered, they can tune in these frequencies so that it is altering our mind without us even knowing. So if you look at things like HVACs, or have you ever heard like lighting, like the way lighting sounds, like that hum, that low hum? There's different frequencies to all these things that can be programmed, right? And to make us a little more drowsy, or maybe they give us more decision fatigue, giving us anxiety. Like there's all these subtle things that you might be picking up on. Like maybe you go to one of these places and you're feeling like anxious all of a sudden, and you're not sure why. It could be due to these types of programmed frequencies. So what you can do to kind of like test this theory out is wear either like noise canceling headphones, or if you're in a space where you feel a little like off and you can't necessarily put your finger on it, get out of the space and see if you feel differently. All right, so let's go back to Colorado, because I want to talk about the Hollow Earth Energy Gate, which is said to be in, again, Denver, right? So Denver is a very big hotspot for a lot of this stuff. And so you want to kind of think about each one of these on a smaller scale, but then you want to broaden your view and look at all of them on the larger scale, right? And see how they're all connected. So basically the theory states that the Denver region lies on this like gateway portal, like inner earth vortex that are sacred. So the theory is that there's some sort of energy, like what's the right word, like a gate or grid or field or something like that, that's under and around Denver, including the airport, that aligns with the chakra points, like the energy points through our bodies. So basically saying if you go to the Denver area and none of these things were happening, it would be a very like spiritual focused center, but they're doing all of these things to not allow us to align with those energies, right? And all of this is just for what we already know, which is control. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Eventually I will do an entire video on all of the Charlie Kirk stuff, because if you've been following that, it is pretty wild and very obvious. And all of this stuff is easier to understand and to research and to learn what the true truths are, because of the fact that we have the internet and all of these things, that we can get so much information where if you just write things off and oh, it's another conspiracy, that sounds crazy, and like, it is crazy. It is crazy, all of the things that happen behind the scenes that we don't know about. And because of the schooling system and the energies and all the cloud seeding, all these things that they do that we don't know about until you look into it, of course it sounds crazy. But these things are happening, and a lot of them have been proven. If you want to look back at other conspiracies, go through and see ones that have been proven true, right? Especially as, I think it's 50 years where the CIA has to release their documents where they're not classified anymore, declassify them. There's a lot of truth in there if you want to find them. Now, there's something to be said about, ignorance is bliss and all of that. So if you want to kind of keep your eyes shut, you have the right to do that. But for people like me, it's important to understand the truth and what's going on. And the bottom line is, we're never going to know everything and what's going on behind the scenes. But the more that give it to my perspective, the more that I have gone down rabbit holes and looked through conspiracies, it opens your eyes where you might not be falling for all of the propaganda and the things as much as you would if you weren't aware of these things. So like I always say, a lot of this stuff comes back to awareness. Now, I will put a caveat there, because there are times where you can go so deep into all of this stuff where it will start to affect your mental health, and at least that's happened for me. So if you catch yourself just getting freaked out and worrying all the time, wanting to talk about this all the time to everyone, you might need to kind of take a step back and take a little break from it, but you can always go back to it. I would really highly suggest that, because there is a lot of dark things that happen under our radar of our everyday lives, and it is primarily the 13 families, the government, the elitists, the 1%, the reptilians, the Illuminati. All these people have so much control that we don't know about, and the only way that we can combat that is to know the information. So I hope you guys found value in this video. I love you so much. Send it to someone who you deem a conspiracy theorist, and don't forget to subscribe so we can hang out again next week. I love you so much, and don't forget, be limitlessly yourself.